Hello everybody, welcome to another day of Cosmoteer. Today what we're going to be doing is another type of engineering in this particular sense. So let's clear everything out, understand. And we're going to take a ship, and we're going to take, if you were watching the game where I was playing Cosmoteer multiplayer adventures with a viewer, they provided me this ship. Now, one of the first things that you want to look at, and I'm going to look at this because first impressions of it when I looked at it, if you watch very carefully, you're going to watch a whole bunch of guys come out and grab from this little capacitor and this capacitor, and you see them running with these chips coming all the way down here. You kind of wonder, what are they doing? Well, they're actually coming down here to supply this down here. So that's not synced up was one of the first things that I noticed. It's like, well, that needs to be fixed. Because why is the front of the ship coming to the back of the ship? Because you can easily just have this large reactor supply these particular ammo factories. The other cool thing about this ship, which I actually like it's very cool. It's got a lot of hyperdrives and it's meant to jump around and skip around all over the place. The other ship, he calls this the Mothership, which is UnExcited. UnExcited calls this the Mothership, but he has a whole bunch of little baby ships go around. I don't think I have all the actual baby ships, but he did give me this scout ship, which is really, really cool because it is designed with a little sensor array. You can fly around, but I was just thinking if instead of a sensor array, you could actually put a hyperdrive beacon on top of it, and you could fly the scout out to where it needs, and then the mothership could just hyper jump to it, and you could have a whole bunch of these little scout guys that come around, and it flies really fast. The fastest he said you can get it to was 157.3, but looking at it, I actually found out that you can actually make it a little bit faster. And the way to make it a little bit faster is you just take it right here, and you just take this design right here, and instead of these large thrusters, you just take a huge thruster, right like this. This is northeast. No, he has it facing a different way. Okay, and you just put it just like that. And then you get rid of this right here. And all of a sudden, and I really like how this is designed because it just goes zip, 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 zip. That was really cool. But you notice it can go up to 168.8 now, which is really, really fast for a tiny little ship because it just doesn't have anything on it and it just flies around. Now, I see the sensor array is pretty cool, but unless you have mining lasers on it, there's no really reason to have sensor arrays because you have the little pings on it. So personally, I would actually change this to a hyperdrive beacon like that. And I have no idea if there's enough crew even to support that, but I'm curious. I am very curious. Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm looking for this and hyper beacon. Let's give it an 8. Maybe I shouldn't have given it an 8. Unless these are dedicated. No. These dedicated? Yes. Don't know why. Don't need those. Get rid of all that. Now they're gonna run around and do what they need to do. And you just have just enough people to run around and give power. Now there is probably one extra door. Let's cut the cost down here just a little bit. I really like this actually tiny little sensor thing. It's kind of cool. It's a neat idea. And there we go. There should be just enough crew. Those 3 people. And I want to see if it still has enough to fly around and still be able to do what it needs to do. I don't even know where the other ship. Okay, there's the other ship. Can it fly around and will it run out of energy if we keep running just like this? Shouldn't. Really neat. Now it flies a little bit slower, 165.8, but the whole idea that I have here is you could just do this and you can go boop. And you can go anywhere now with a little tiny scout ship. Once they charge up, he's got a lot of hyper beacons on there, or hyperdrives on there. But now you can just fly your super heavy ship wherever you want with a little scout. I really like this little tiny scout ship. So I like this version. I'm going to actually save this ship design. I did make another version of it, but we're just going to call this instead of this Hyper Beacon Scout. I like it. It's kind of cool. Say that. Okay, now we're going back to this ship right here. So the Mothership right here, I've noticed a lot of different things that you could probably improve, such as dedication, which as I was saying before. So if you come over here, you see right here, all you have to do in order to dedicate power to these, so people are not running from the front of the ship to the back of the ship, is just take this and say assign here. Because it's so close to this power, you might as well just pull the power from the large reactor to pull to these to supply them. That's my own personal opinion. Instead of running from the top of the ship here and grabbing single chips, running all the way back down. I'm still wondering what these little single chip guys are doing, which is kind of neat. Anyways, that was just the first things that I saw. Now, I already started working on it quite a bit, so I'm going to go over here and look for it. And I already went up to version 3 of this, because what I've noticed is if you take, let me actually show you showcase version 1 and show you what I've changed from version 1. Because if you take a version 1 of this ship, which is really cool and all, but you take one of my 2 cannon ships, my older version, and sorry if you see a lot of newer ships in here and everything. I've already recorded up to episode 31.2, so this is interrupting that in the middle, but I know I have newer versions of almost everything. But in here, if you watch the older version of my 2 cannon ship, it actually, with the original A extra armor Mothership, you're going to watch to see how it does versus another person's ship. And this is a 2 cannon ship, and the cost is significantly lower with significantly a lot less crew. But you'll watch to see how it damages and how it takes it. And there's just a few things that are missing on it that I've changed significantly. But I just wanted to showcase that. This is a very nicely designed ship. Lots of cargo, lots of hyperdrives, able to fly around the ship and just enjoy with a ton of armor. But if you're faced head on against a ship that's pure damage and designed for combat, 4 cannons versus 4 cannons. And yes, I have a little bit more lasers, but the shields and the placement of the armor, this is why diagonal facing ships versus a square-like ship makes a big difference. And also if you've optimized everything to a point where you spent hours and hours in optimizing it. But that's that case. But to make it so, all I did was change a few things. Let me go ahead and bring in the most current version. And all of a sudden, when you change just a few things, such as adding in disruptors, and then dedicating actual power to where it's supposed to go. So I found that some of these things were not dedicated properly. So I rededicated out properly. Not changing anything, just adding 4 disruptors and dedicating out power properly. And you'll all of a sudden start noticing this ship now, with its cost, can actually and should be able to wipe this ship completely clean. Small, minor, tiny adjustments. 4 disruptors doesn't affect the armor barely at all. You're just adding just this tiny little extra in here to be able to just shoot out. Now there's a bunch of other things that I do want to change too that I'm going to showcase in this video, but I just wanted to showcase that once you make these changes, you can start ripping apart other ships. Because that was the only thing it was really missing. I mean, you could put EMP missiles on it, but with the size of the ship, you would have to really completely redesign the whole thing, armor-wise and aspect-wise. But it is a cool ship. I like it. It's got a lot of crew. It's got a lot of everything on it. And you see, all of a sudden, it just starts winning. Just by adding 4 little disruptors. You can change these to other things if you wanted. But I just wanted to showcase that just minor changes, minor optimization, and things start working a lot better. And now you're winning against a ship that you should definitely be able to win against when playing in this particular aspect, because you see the cost is just significantly different. Now, this ship can even win now with those changes I made against one of my 6-cannon ships. So just wanted to showcase just the small minor changes, and all of a sudden the ship is starting to be way cool. And just look at the outside design, it's really nicely painted as well, so I like that. The thing that I do want to point out too, though, if you're looking very closely at this, you see the armor? It's not layer stacked like bricks. When you really want to do is you want to layer stack armor like bricks, and the main reason why, and let me just showcase this, and if you have them out individually and you start layer stacking, so that's that way, and then you layer stack this way, it all of a sudden, and now I'm not visually able to see it very well, so that's stacked that way, that's stacked this way. Just restack these just like that, and then this is stacked that way like that. And so what happens here, and maybe you can't see it very well, or at least I can't see it well because my camera's not super good, but you see how they're layer stacked like this? So if they damage here, they damage here, and then they still have to damage in between here instead of hitting straight through. So you have them layer stacked back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And when you layer stack them like bricks, it actually can take a lot more. So all my ships are layer stacked as best as they can. So when you layer stack like that, instead of stacking them like this, see how these ones are just stack, 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 stack? When you have big ships and you want to layer stack the armor, so that, or even smaller ships, layer stacking gives you so much more defense. So layer stacking back and forth, kind of like bricks, gives you just a little bit more advantage. Now there's probably a few other things in here that I would probably suggest to make offensively a little bit better, but that's just the first thing I'm looking at, and I just wanted to touch upon a ship once optimized, once changed. Even if you're looking at your own ships, anybody that's watching this video, you're looking at your own ships and you're looking at just tiny little optimizations, watch what your crew actually do. If you notice people coming from the front of the ship and all of a sudden start running to the, let me discard this, and they start running to the back of the ship, that's a big red flag saying, well, why are they running to the back of the ship? Because there's all this crew sitting here, and you could optimize this more by actually coming here and assigning people directly to different jobs and building out different type of roles. So if you'll notice, because you could really optimize this ship a lot more, if you notice some of my ships, and we'll take that 4-cannon ship, the original design, and we'll take this 4-cannon ship, and you'll notice a big difference. You see all these different roles that are placed out here? Each person's dedicated to do a very specific job on my ship, and they can still do other things, but there's a minor priority. For example, my power distributors, which are really close to the power plant, they are specifically designed to come into the ship and grab and support my larger shield and my battery, as well as they are designed, see how they have a priority 9, to supply my offensive ability. But their main priority is to focus on the larger shields and the minor shields. And they're so close to it, they're so close to the reactor that they come out, pull in, and support just the shields. They're not running all over the ship trying to do different things. They're literally focused to come in and protect the shields and do the damage, which the damage is also close by. And then you also have a different sets of people, like, for example, my cannon loaders. Cannon loaders are they have no other job at all, except for ones, but literally they are literally set to operate the deck cannon and supply the ammo, and if necessary also supply sulfur and supply battery to my ammo batteries. So they're literally just staying around this area pumping in ammo. They're not running around the ship doing other crazy things, they're just there to do that. And then you have all these different people doing different jobs. Now I know I haven't optimized my 4-cannon ship to do what it's supposed to be, but power distributors should also actually give factories, and this should actually be a 10 or a 9 actually. But I haven't optimized this ship in that particular role because I haven't touched my original 4-cannon in a very long time. But you have these different people, and it's the same thing like these cannon guys. You can place your cannon guys all over the ship. And these cannon guys are literally dedicated just to operate the deck cannons. And they do nothing else. They sit on the deck cannons all day long, and that's all their job to do. Now, if a deck cannon blows up and you want them to do one other job, which the only other job I can think of the deck cannons you really want them to do is run over and start supplying ammo. So this should actually be 10-10 is personally what my opinion, and so the other guys should be 9-9 because I've optimized them on, I've done a lot of changes. And then cannon loaders, these guys right here should actually be over the factories, these guys should be 9-9 here like this. Not that one, the cannon. This should be 9-9. That way their only job is just supply ammo or operate it. So if any cannon loader actually walks away from the deck cannon, a cannon loader will instantly replace them and jump into the deck cannon to start doing what they need to do. So there's a lot of things that you can optimize for roles. It's a much more advanced feature, but once you start learning this aspect, the most important right here is my laser. You see all my laser guys? These guys are at the front of the ship because they're down here operating. And for space-wise, I don't want to stick all these bunkers down here to gum up my actual how everything going and adding space and adding weak points. So they're all the way up here because I rarely lose the front, and these guys are just here to operate the lasers. Now often, yes, you do lose your lasers, so they have other jobs and they do other things once the lasers are done, and they're at the front of the ship, and then their secondary job should actually be the point defenses. Again, I haven't optimized this, and so once these are down, which lasers do normally go down, they come over here and they start supporting and supplying for the point defenses. Again, this is not a very optimized ship because this is the original 2 cannon. My 6 cannon ship is probably far more optimized to do what it needs to do. But those are the things that you can look at when looking at ships, is crew placement and how crew placement should be, and where the actual crew's placed, and what are their roles and what are they doing. Now, a lot of the more in-game ships are optimized in different ways. Is people can be, and you see right here, if you're assigned to specific jobs, saying that I only want you here in the front of the ship supporting these factories. And these guys right here, I didn't want them to just be on the back of the ship because often I lost this cannon. So if these get destroyed, they then run up to these ones and start helping with these ones. So you have to think about that too. That's why I don't really assign these roles, because I've noticed when you assign these roles and you start losing sections of your ship, which often happens, then they don't do anything and sit there and they just, because they're assigned. So giving them free range and actually telling them what to do allows them to do different things. Where I know for a fact right here in the front of the ship, this is usually the last part that gets destroyed and the last anything. So if it does, before it gets destroyed, that's why I dedicate these people just to this, because I don't want these guys running down here trying to support these factories. I want them to stay at the front of the ship. So those are the type of things you can look at and actually plan to do. I'm gonna work more on this ship right here and spice it up, make it even more optimized. But I just wanted to showcase that, yeah, small minor changes, small little things here and there make a big, huge difference. You look at all these different things and how it's assigned. This particular capacitor wasn't actually assigned any jobs. So if you take a look at the original, here, let me actually just come over here and I'll just pull in the original. And you look at the original right here, and you look at it right here, and you see this capacitor. Well, you supply power to that capacitor, but this capacitor is not assigned to do anything. So people are literally running to this capacitor and whatever their job is assigned, they're coming down here doing... I've even seen guys take power from this capacitor and run all the way down here and try to supply these engine rooms and stuff. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? So yeah, if you're gonna dedicate jobs, make sure you plan to dedicate everything. And this right here, you see how this is not dedicated to these, and this is not dedicated. So literally, guys can run to this capacitor and start to supply this on the original. Or if you come back to this one that's modified, I don't even know if I caught that. Oh, I did. Okay, so you see how now they're actually dedicated to this. And it's so close to this reactor right here, I would actually even say this should be dedicated to these right here. And this should even be dedicated to this, because it's close enough to grab from and get to. But then there's another thing too that I want to change that I saw that was kind of interesting, is if you look at the inside of the ship right here, you see how there's this walkway that goes straight up? These guys run up here, and then for them to get, look at them trying to walk this walkway to get to the power. Look how slow they're going. Probably should just make this You see how they're walking when they walk back really, really slow? Probably should make this just a straight corridor that comes down. And or they get stuck here and instead they take this longer way to go all the way around. So you see how this guy's trying to walk backwards? Walkways are great, but you have to have, if you're gonna go two ways, then they have to walk both up and down. So that slows that part up right there. And then even, yeah, it's interesting, all these different things that can be changed on the ship to make it even more optimized and even more better. But you see right here, once you dedicate this capacitor to these shields, the shields in the front act a lot better. Instead of people trying to run from the bottom of the ship here, just try to support the top of the ship. Because once a guy, actually a crew member, queues up to hold, so say for example this guy was carrying a power to carry up here, no other crew is going to jump in to gather up to try to queue up something up here. So the closer they are to grab something and go to it is very important. You don't want somebody running from the back of the ship trying to grab a power to supply something all to the front of the ship, just to queue up to actually supply them. So it's just something to think about. But you see right here, the new ship, once optimized, should and can be able to always defeat at least a 4 cannon on mine or better. And you only just have 4 cannons, and all that's changed was just disruptors. So I'll work on this more. I just wanted to hit on all these different optimized points. So if you're new to the game and you're just coming in and you're trying to learn something, these are a few tricks that you can learn if you're trying to manage internal ships and trying to manage different things with them. I will showcase more videos later and hit on it more. And thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please feel free to smash the like button. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. If you want to subscribe and get notified, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. If you don't want to subscribe, that's okay. Come back once a week, once a month. Check out what content I have. Thank you all for being here, and you all have a wonderful rest of your day.